Talking today about analytics and accommodations in Blackboard with competency number 4 and the very last standard number 15. So what is the competency number 4 within our FQAS framework? It's teaching methods. And what we're talking about today is adapting our teaching practice to meet student needs. That can be in the midst of instruction as well. And that's what really ties into both the analytics and accommodations piece. If you are actively engaged in your course and you pick some, we'll talk about strategic times to look at how you can adapt your practices to help students, then you can really intervene on their behalf and be very proactive versus reactive. So some of the overview of the criteria includes faculty feedback on adaptability, system-wide review of differentiated instructional practices. So how can you differentiate things based on student needs? Here we're talking about accommodation very specifically. And then on the third one, we're talking about student feedback, being responsive. How can you retain your students? How can you ensure that they're being successful through data and that you're applying things for a diverse audience of students? And so, yeah, that's how it all ties in. Stop us with any questions at any time, but I'm going to be doing the analytics portion and then Tim will take it over for the accommodations piece halfway through the presentation. We're also going to use his course digital media because he's got a great fake group of students within there that won't show any private student data, and it'll still give us some things to look at. So again, data interventions. When we strategically use our data, we can then make some really good informed decisions and interventions on behalf of our students. There are a myriad of course level analytics within Blackboard Ultra. They allow you to see patterns and they allow you to see gaps. The primary things that you can look at, and it's really a good snapshot, we'll show that to you in just a second, of how much time are they spending in my course week to week? How often are they logging in? Are they at least in every 7 days? Or has it been 14 days plus since the student has logged in? How many missed due dates do they have? Who are submitting assignments last minute? And then you can even drill down in super detail. If you have a student who's starting to struggle, their grade is starting to dip and you're concerned about them, you can open in and see if they've even reviewed items, right? Like, have they looked at announcements? Have they reviewed the feedback that I gave them on this assignment? So you can really get into detail if and when and how they're opening items within your course. But really, I think what's a good question for everybody to just think about and sit and reflect on for a second is, when is an intentional time for you to access this data? And it could vary by course, right? Is it halfway through a semester? We don't want to do this at the very end because we're talking about in the midst of instruction, right? Is it 2 weeks before a big test or project? And you've been reminding the students that it's coming up and you're seeing that someone's really not logging into the course? When could you set up a calendar reminder for yourself and take 10 to 15 minutes to look at your courses from that analytical standpoint, right? Let me look at the data. Let me look at the analytics. Who is struggling and who can I take a minute or two to reach out to, right? And just like we said, starfish is going away, but can we use advice to make some strategic interventions? Can I start to email this student? What can I do to start intervening for them? Any questions on that? I think we all know a really good time of the semester, hopefully, that if you set up a little reminder for yourself, you could really show students that you're being responsive and that you're engaged in the course and that you expect the same from them, right? Two-way street. I notice you're starting to struggle. I have some, data that's supporting this, and I would really like to help support you, but you got to meet me halfway, right? You got to put the time and the work in. So we have lots of data available in the course level analytics, which I'll be jumping into in just a second. The snapshot that you see more than anything is that course activity. And we can even set up alert settings. Granted, you have to do it each semester with each unique course, but then the students are getting notified when they dip below a certain metric. And that again is showing responsiveness and intervention and being proactive, and Blackboard's doing it for you. And then there's a lot of course reports in there as well. But we'll also show how you can click on an individual student and drill down further into their progress and into their activity, seeing if they're opening things, what they are doing, what they're not doing, that kind of stuff. So I'm about to go into digital media. We're going to look at that course activity and alert settings. And the main things you'll see here are an overall grade, of course, number of missed due dates, time spent within the course, and then days since they last accessed it. And then we're going to look at those alert settings, and they will automatically save when you enter them. But I'm going to say again that it needs to be redone each semester and each unique shell that you have. So if you're starting to set up for summer, you can do this right now. Let's go into digital media here. All right, analytics tab up here on the top. And again, these are a group of fake students that we have set up, which is perfect. So we can see their overall grade. We've got a good variety of different colors here.
Bunch of rock and rollers.
Yep. We've got number of missed due dates. Several of them have 7 missing assignments. Quite a bit of them do.
I'm not doing as well as Jim Morrison, it appears.
How many hours they've spent in the course, and then the days since they last accessed it. So, oh, Nick, you accessed it 29 days ago.
People do.
Don't worry, Nick, you will break on through.
So let's show you how to set up that alert setting. If this were the start of the semester, you would see the students' names and then none of that analytical data being displayed right there. So go into alert settings. We can dictate the metrics that we want. And I think only students get this notification, not faculty. Is that correct?
You can check both if you'd like, but you can set it up so it's only students.
Okay. Yep. All right. So if we want anything under 80, right? Overall grade below or equal to, we can make that 70. You can type in whatever you want here. If they've got 3 missed due dates, to me, I wouldn't let it go 15 days. I would say anything past 7 personally, but right. So here we go.
Ooh.
And once I did that, it would just automatically save. I don't have to hit save. Okay. So then the students are getting those alert messages. Look, I can even send a message directly to a student from here. So that saves you a little bit of time in that, like I see Ringo Starr is at a 35%. I'm going to email him or I'm going to send him a message really quick telling him that, hey, I noticed you're really struggling. Here's some things that you can do to improve your grade.
Hold on.
Yeah.
There we
Absolutely.
go.
Come on, Ringo.
Any questions on that? That is the general course activity and alert setting. So that took just a few minutes, right? And so even that, doing that little bit course to course is a way to be proactive. But now I saw that a student is really struggling. I identified that, especially through the alert settings. And now I want to do an in-depth view for their progress and work throughout the modules, in addition to like their activity, when they're submitting things, how often they're submitting things. And then this can target my interventions as well. So we're going to go into that course activity again. We're going to click on a particular student and we're going to see their progress throughout the course by module and by item. Just want to make sure I don't say. This is what it's going to look like. I did kind of want to show it from this standpoint first. So the activity log, you can access this in the analytics dashboard by clicking on a student, and I'll show you that, or even the gradebook area too. And it shows when the items were accessed or submitted. But you need to pay really close attention to the start date and the end date. Otherwise, it's not going to be accurate, show you what you're looking for. So I've noticed that recently this student is struggling. I want to pinpoint the last 2 weeks maybe. So that's something you want to pay close attention to. So let's look at, there's one student in particular had some progress in December. I think it was David Bowie.
David Bowie.
Okay, let's double check.
He was under pressure.
So again, I'm in analytics, right? I was in analytics from the course activity overall. I was looking at the students and now I'm going to click on him specifically, but I have to set up the dates too if I really want to drill down. I mean, right now we're just seeing the grades, okay? We can go into progress and look at when David Bowie has opened things, started things, unopened things. If they actually marked it as complete, we'll be able to see that. all from this one perspective. Okay, and then that activity log is what I was also referencing. So here I have to be pretty specific. I have to go back to. This is 26. Oops. See if we can get this. Here we go. And let's make this end of December. We do it. And now I can see it, okay? So this is exactly time and date when he accessed the course. And then if there were attempts to a submission, I would see that as well, correct? And I can even download this too. I mean, not that we want to be, we wouldn't be publicizing this, we wouldn't be, but like if the student is saying, no, I am doing the work, I am doing stuff, like have this data, I have this evidence that's showing me you haven't accessed the course in how many days, and it's proof, it's documentation. If I want to withdraw the student from the class, this is what's showing me you haven't attempted or done anything in such an amount of time.
The slides from here on out, I've kind of got, and we're looking at accommodations, exceptions, exemptions. Oh my. We also have a bonus one on there too, because we at CETL here love to add on bonus content. So we've got that. I would point out this video. It's embedded into the slideshow here. It's kind of hidden in here, but it is actually a workable video. If you don't want to view it all, kitty wampus here, you can click on it and you can actually go to YouTube to watch it there. And this has all of the details actually that I'm going to show you. And it lays it out in order along the way and gives some specific examples too. So I just wanted to put that on there as a resource for you. First one is accommodations. There are times that we need to handle students differently within their coursework, and whether that's time, whether that's number of attempts, we can set up accommodations for those students. We've been talking more and more about accommodations and what that would look like and who you talk to and how you confirm that. But definitely a resource for accommodations before you get to the Blackboard level is to reach out to Amanda Fedrowski. And she's the one that can clarify a lot of the language around the accommodations, also the legitimacy of the accommodation need. And that's your resource to go to first. We can talk about the accommodations from a Blackboard standpoint and some of the tools that you can use there. So I just wanted to make that delineation before we get into it. In the first part here, just to kind of explain the windows a little bit, we've got the roster information. So on the right side panel, right below where you see yourself as an instructor, you've got your roster area. And once you get in the roster, you've got all of your students listed there. And if you click on the three dots for any of those students, you can see the accommodations. Once you get in there, you can set up your accommodations by a couple different criteria. So you can add in different dates, you can add in different times, you can add on added time. There's a bunch of things that you can do within here. I'll get into this in more detail in the course shell itself. We'll go back to that digital media course and take a look. So if you want to see this kind of played out, I will be getting to that shortly. The other one that goes along kind of hand in hand with this is the need to be able to do exceptions and exemptions. And these come up, we know this for a number of different reasons. We have a lot of non-traditional students that come in, they have jobs, they have lives, they have busyness. And of course, you have the normal day-to-day things that every student deals with, being sick, missing class, stuff like that. And the exceptions and exemptions really lend themselves to those circumstances and those situations here. What we're looking at is the gradable items. And within the gradable items for a student, you can click into the three dots. And let's say that this project one hadn't been turned in. We can go in there, or they turned it in and it wasn't their best effort. They just turned it into as kind of a placeholder. You can go into these three dots and then you can access the area where you would exempt this or add an exception to it. And then you can tinker with those details. And you can see it brings up a couple different panes here for you to make adjustments. And again, I use David Bowie as an example for that. The last one before we hop into the course shell here, and you're going to see all this again. So let me click here. Maybe it's going to go forward. Thinking about it. No, there we go. Release conditions. So this one I've seen creatively used for students. I like this, and I think it's a good way that you can target certain students. If you've got a group of students, maybe that we're working in a cohort or working on a project or different things like that, you can target specific students with release conditions. A lot of people think of like date and activity and performance as the only criteria for the release condition, but you can actually choose specific people to apply the release conditions to. So maybe David Bowie here needs more time or needs access to something at a certain time and date, or maybe you base it off of his activity on something, and then he gets that access to whatever the assignment or assessment is. So a lot of ways you can manipulate this within your course design, get kind of creative with your solutions, and I think problem solve on the fly is what we're looking for with all of these things. Okay, so I'm going to hop out of here and we're going to hop into the actual course itself, and give me one moment to navigate into that. And starting off with all of this, before I begin, we have the new and improved student support module here. I wanted to point that out. This is in all of your summer and fall courses. And as I was telling Casey earlier, you're starting off the new semester with summer and fall with 100% accessibility. We went through and reworked a lot of the stuff in the student support module to make that happen. And the other part that I would throw in a little plug for here, which I've been kind of letting people know along the way, in addition to all the normal services that we have in here, which was, just not that long ago, FQAS that we went through, we also have an assignment that's pre-made for you. So if you have first-year students or students that are possibly new to Blackboard, you can promote this idea of the orientation to online learning course. Erica built this course out for newer students to Blackboard. Maybe it's their first experience with an LMS. Maybe they're new to Blacktalk, whatever it may be. This is a pretty good setup. This course they're automatically enrolled in, and this is an assignment that's pre-made for you. It's also in the no category area, so it does not affect your grade book in any way. And still you can use this to see if students are kind of interacting with your course shell. Some people talked about using it for enrollment validation. So I wanted to show you that quickly before we go back into the accommodations and all of that. So beginning with the trifecta here of what we've got with the accommodations, if we scroll below the instructors and we take a look at if I can click here, the roster part of it, and we hop in, we can go into any one of these people, click the three dots, and immediately we can see accommodations. If they have accommodations, they will be marked with the same little chevron here, and that'll be out by their name, and I believe it's in like this pinkish purple, so it's pretty loud and large and in charge. They've actually just increased the size of that marking so you can see it. Accommodations for David Bowie here. You can do due date accommodations. You can do time. When you click on any one of these, you start to get more details of what you can do there. So if David Bowie is supposed to have time and a half for the accommodations, I'm going to add 50% more time to the already 100% time that David Bowie has. And now he's got time and a half. If it's supposed to be double time or unlimited, I can check either one of those. And then I save it on my way out. And when I save this and add on that accommodation, we'll see that now David Bowie has that accommodation. Whether I'm in this view or I'm in my student list view, I can see those accommodations. It's kind of nice. You can see people at a glance. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one here, we're talking about exceptions and exemptions. So we're going to go out to the gradebook view here, and I'm going to go over to the students. And along the students, and there it is again, you can see David Bowie's got the accommodations. If for any one of these things, if I go over and I take a look at what's going on, I can also again access accommodations from here too. So if I go into David Bowie's area, I think he's got the most stuff turned in, so we'll use him as an example. For any one of these gradable items that we've got in here, I can go over to the three dots and I can access the edit exceptions or exemptions. Editing exemptions here, if you hop into that, This is where you can set up the details of this, an assessment due date, you can change that. You can give access to a specific assessment from this time to this time. So if you want to open up a window of time, if you need to change the number of attempts that are allowed for something, you can do that as well. And that's a lot of handy features, I think, for accommodating, different aspects other than just the time, but when they can get to it and how many times they can get to that. It may be a practice test and you want them to practice a few more attempts than maybe their fellow classmates. So there's the first one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. Let's see here, 3 dots again. And this time I'm going to say that, well, David Bowie wasn't having the best day on this day. There was a family event. And it threw them off, and I'm going to exempt this particular grade out of here. Now, you don't want to use this willy-nilly. You want to kind of have a definite reason for this. And there may be something that gets, takes its place down the road, or that you supplement in for this, but there are opportunities to exempt grades on an individual level.
Sounds like Erica's OOPS token that she talked about, where students get 1 or 2 a semester. I don't know how many, but at least 1 OOPS token, she calls it, right? But then she tracks it within her grade book, which we could show as a bonus, right?
Yeah.
So you can have 1 exempt grade within this 1 category. I think she limits it to a certain category too, right? And you have to email me prior to the due date and you get to use the 1 token a semester. And then she tracks it in their grade book so that they don't try to do it again. So,
Yep.
yeah, we could show that as a bonus.
I can save this exemption here, and
Good idea.
and now that we've got that, I can actually see that it's exempt in this area here. So if you're scrolling down through a student and you're using something like that, or you've got different reasons, or you're wondering why something maybe isn't quite adding up the way you were expecting it to, this is a good way to identify any exemptions that you've done along the way. Okay, if you want to, in your grade book, track something like this in terms of like a text column, we can hop into the grade book view as well. And this is another way that you could go about doing this. We go into the grades column, and let's say right along with project 1, which happens to be maybe one of those categories that a student could opt to be exempt from with an OOPS token, I go to the plus sign here, and then I can add in a text item. And this is pretty handy because I just put in oops.
And it can be hidden from the students so they don't see it, but you're keeping track of it and and they try to use another token and you say, sorry, you used it on this date. I know you did.
And this is great because now this is set up to actually type in here, so I can put whatever. Let's just go with our theme of oops here. And then the dates and whatever I want to add on there for any kind of additional documentation along the way.
Yep.
But you just go right down through the column there and you can manually enter those in. I wish, honestly, that there was a way you can set up a customized comment and then populate that to all of them, but we're not there yet. Soon, maybe. So the last and final one, the bonus track, if you will. And on any one of the modules, or for that matter, any one of the assignments here, I can go in and I can set up the release conditions so that I make it available at certain times for specific users. This could be based on time, it could be based on activity. And again, I could break this up to target certain groups or individuals within my class, whether it's for more practice, whatever your reasons may be. But I like it because it's flexible. If I hop in to edit this, just to kind of show you what it looks like, instead of all members being affected by this, I choose specific members, and I've got David Bowie selected here, or I could select groups. I've got David Bowie, and then I can set up date or time, and then I can go in and set up an activity and fiddle around with that. One other thing I point out here is that on the side column, now more visual than before, it's actually showing the different rules that are applied, which was kind of hard to track before if you were doing release conditions. This is one of the more recent improvements here. And I hop out of here, and of course, once all that stuff's set, when I'm in student mode, if I mouse over this, I can see, oh, this isn't for me, this is for somebody else, but it's not for me. And that pretty much wraps that up. Thank you for joining us here and
Thank
for following us along here as we go through these foundations of FQAS. And we do appreciate your feedback. So we got a QR code. There's a couple links as well for the different resources. If you have follow-up questions, hit us up at CETL Support. And then, of course, all of this is housed on faculty resources. We've got the YouTube channel, which we've been adding all this content to. And it's kind of pared down. We've got the main meat and potatoes of all of our presentations on there. So it's a little bit shorter. And then, of course, your feedback. So if you've got suggestions, comments, anything else that you'd like to see explored, please share that in the feedback there. There we go. Happy almost Friday. Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you all